Welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to show you how to change the automatic transmission fluid on a BMW G6. 3.0 liter engine. It's important you haven't driven the car when it's too hot. Instead, the engine should be sitting at around 5 degrees Celsius. Before starting this procedure, I think that's the ideal temperature, and it's time to make the switch. And here we go. Let's get this thing going.
I've got a pan here that I always use for this process. I really like to catch the fluid and then take a good, close look to see exactly how much has drained into the pan over time. So, once we've completely drained the oil, we put this back on to prevent it from continuously dripping everywhere. And now we're going to loosen up all of the bolts in order to successfully remove the oil pan. So we take a size 40 Torx bit and carefully undo each and every one of the bolts. When we've removed the last bolt, we just pull the whole thing out, and that should do it for us. When we've got the oil pan removed, right here we can see these magnets that are specifically designed to collect all the metal shavings, and they're absolutely packed full. I'm just going to pull one out to show that to the camera. As you can see, it's just completely packed full. Yeah, once we get that oil pan off, we immediately run into the main issue, which is that they've integrated an oil filter, specifically a transmission oil filter, right into the bottom of the oil pan itself. So what that basically means is, to change the oil filter, we have to change the entire oil pan. That's why we have this setup here. And right here we've got the new oil pan complete with the clean magnets, all new screws, and a brand new gasket. The entire unit we can go ahead and install once we've properly cleaned off the surface. Where the gasket sits, on the transmission housing itself. Let's go ahead and grab a steel wool pad and just go over this entire surface area right here one time. Let's get this entire surface cleaned up once, then go over it thoroughly with some brake cleaner to completely degrease it, and blow out these holes right here where the screws will eventually be threaded into the part itself. Let's lubricate the seal with oil, and then we'll carefully slide it back into its proper place, making sure it's seated correctly and evenly all the way around. Now let's begin by positioning all the screws initially, making certain they're seated properly across the entire surface. screws get 10 Newton meters, and ideally when you've hand tightened them and want to torque them down to 10 Newton meters, then always do it in a crisscross pattern so that the oil pan can settle properly. So you keep going through the whole thing, and afterwards, when you've tightened everything down, you do another check pass so that every screw is tight and the whole thing sits properly. We take an 8mm socket and proceed to loosen the oil inlet screw right here. Once we've got the whole assembly unscrewed, we're left with this opening right here where we can pour in the new oil. I'm now taking the engine oil here. The refill should be something around 9.6 liters. But we're not performing a complete system refill here, we're just doing an oil change service. A certain amount of old fluid remains in the torque converter. That means we're looking at pumping in about 5 or 6 liters total. We've currently got 5 liters prepared and ready to go. We have a specialized pump here specifically for this job. So we're putting this hose in right here. So we've got a third person, or more precisely, a second person for you sitting up top, so that once we've filled it and the oil is flowing out, they can start the engine to get everything distributed throughout the transmission just one single time. So we're putting the other one on there as well, making sure everything is connected properly and securely. So you can see the oil is moving toward us now. We shift through the gears and keep on filling it up until the oil begins to move back in our general direction once again. Okay. We can bolt it down, yes. We'll just fasten it securely. And then we tighten down the oil filler plug. It's supposed to be torqued down to 35 Newton meters.
Once you've finished the transmission oil change and installed the new pan with the filter, you'll usually notice a little oil still slowly dripping out for a bit afterward, which is totally normal and nothing to worry about. You can still take it for a test drive since we already cycled through all the gears on the lift, but you'll take it out for one more drive. Make sure not to let the engine overheat, keep it cooled back down to around 50 degrees Celsius. And check the dipstick again. Don't forget transmission adaptation, it's crucial. I forgot to mention that last time with the Mercedes. We've got the option to pick the specific adaptation procedure for the transmission control unit, so let's go ahead and run through that process step by step.
Which will essentially recalibrate the transmission to optimize its shift timing and overall responsiveness for a much smoother operation. To reset many things here, what we're doing is resetting the EGS, or the EGS oil change, completely back to 0. Because we've done an oil change, we're confirming the whole thing here. So all of this stuff's been reset now. So when we've reset the EGS, we can still reset the learning values for the transmission positioning device. So then we'll go ahead and reset the transmission positioning device's learning values. The adaptation values were reset based on the following conditions. This was done either because a trailer module was retrofitted or shifting issues had occurred. In this case, we don't have any problems, but we're resetting them anyway because the new oil is in there. The adaptation values have been reset. If you enjoyed the video, give a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Until next time, ciao.